Have you ever caught yourself in a moment of frustration, maybe stuck in traffic or dealing with a difficult person, and suddenly you snap, lashing out in anger? And then in that split second after your outburst, you pause and think, whoa, where did that come from? That's not really me. Well, I got news for you. That is you. That's all of us. And it begs the question, am I really human? Now, before you start wondering if I'm about to launch into some sci-fi robot theory, let me clarify. I'm talking about our humanity in its fullest sense, not just the surface level everyday Joe or Jane walking down the street, but the deep down, nitty-gritty essence of what it means to be human. Let's take a step back and look at ourselves in a mirror for a moment. What do we see? Sure, we see a face, a body, maybe some gray hairs or wrinkles if we're lucky. But is that really what makes us human? Or is there something more, something deeper? I think we all know the answer to that. Our humanity isn't defined by our physical appearance or even our accomplishments. It's defined by something far more profound, our capacity for love, compassion, forgiveness, and self-sacrifice. It's defined by our ability to rise above our baser instincts and choose the higher path. But here's the kicker. How often do we actually do that? Let's be real for a second. We live in a world that's constantly pulling us in 1,000 different directions. We're bombarded with messages telling us to look out for number one, to get ahead at all costs, to judge others based on superficial criteria. And all too often we buy into it. We become reactive instead of proactive, selfish instead of selfless, judgmental instead of understanding. So, let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly put someone else's needs before your own? And I don't mean in some small, token way. I mean in a way that cost you something, that made you uncomfortable, that required real sacrifice. Or how about this? When was the last time you chose to forgive someone who hurt you, even when every fiber of your being wanted to hold on to that grudge? When was the last time you looked at someone who society says is beneath you and saw the inherent dignity and worth in them? These are the moments that define our humanity. These are the choices that separate us from being mere biological entities and elevate us to the status of truly human beings. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Come on, that's a pretty high bar. Nobody's perfect. And you're absolutely right. We're not perfect. We're flawed, we're broken, we're messy. But that's exactly the point. Our humanity isn't about perfection. It's about the struggle, the journey, the constant effort to become better versions of ourselves. It's about recognizing our shortcomings and still choosing to strive for something higher. Think about it like this. We all have that inner voice, that conscience that whispers to us in those critical moments. It's the voice that says, hey, maybe you should give that homeless person your sandwich instead of just walking by. Or, your coworker is really struggling. Maybe you should take a few minutes to listen to them instead of rushing off to your next meeting. That voice, that's our humanity calling. The question is, do we listen? Do we act? Because here's the truth. Being human isn't a given. It's not something that just happens to us by virtue of being born. It's a choice. A daily, sometimes moment-by-moment choice to embrace the full spectrum of what it means to be human. It means choosing empathy over apathy, kindness over indifference, courage over complacency. It means looking at the world around us with all its pain, injustice, and suffering, and saying, I refuse to be part of the problem. I choose to be part of the solution. So, am I human? Are you? The answer isn't in our DNA or our birth certificates. It's in our actions, our choices, our hearts. It's in the way we treat the cashier who's having a rough day, the patience we show to our children when we're exhausted, the love we extend to those who are different from us. Being human is hard work. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's also the most rewarding work we'll ever do. Because when we embrace our full humanity, we don't just change ourselves. We change the world around us. So I'll leave you with this challenge. The next time you're faced with a choice between the easy path and the human path, choose humanity. Choose forgiveness. Choose to sacrifice. And then maybe, just maybe, when you look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I human? You'll be able to answer with a resounding yes. Not because you're perfect, but because you're trying. And in the end, that's what being human is all about. So, what do you think? Are you ready to embrace your humanity? The world is waiting, and trust me, it needs every ounce of humanity we can muster.